In this latest video on indicators, we're going to take a look at on-balance volume and how it can help you either confirm a trend is valid or be maybe a bit concerned that a trend is starting to run out of steam. Hello, I'm David Jones. This is the latest video with Trading 212 in our technical analysis trading strategy series. Now, last time around, we looked at the basics of volume. What does it show on the chart? How is it constructed? How can we read? What should we read into increasing or decreasing volume? But there is another way of looking at volume, and that's an indicator. The way where we've looked at the likes of RSIs and stochastics in the past. There's also a similar calculation for when we're looking at volume. It's called on-balance volume, and it dates back to the early 1960s. So it's an indicator that has been around for a while, and it's a really simple and straightforward calculation combining what's the price doing compared to what's going on in terms of volume, in terms of contracts or shares traded. So first of all, to understand this, let's take a look at the basics. Let's take it step by step, how on-balance volume gets constructed. So let's take a look at this idea of on-balance volume, and you can get to marvel again at my wonderful drawing skills. Let's start drawing on the chart. Let's say we've got the price up here, and the price over 3 days moves a bit higher. Let's put in, first of all, some volume bars at the bottom. So let's add some volume bars, and we'll pretend that volume is increasing. So volume's confirming the trend, the market's pushing higher, and we've got volume behind it. This is what we looked at last time round. The bars at the bottom represent how many contracts, how many shares, whatever was traded during the day. So if we see the values aren't that important for volume bars. If we see volume bars increasing in height, it means volume is picking up. If we see a volume bar like that, it means volume was lower than the day before. So far, we've got volume increasing with the trend. Now, let's talk about on-balance volume. It's really straightforward how on-balance volume gets shown. So the total volume for the day, so however many contracts were traded here, or shares, or whatever it is, gets assigned a plus or a minus value depending on whether prices closed higher or lower for the day. So here, we've got prices closing higher. So the volume, whatever it is, gets assigned a plus, it gets assigned a plus value. So let's start drawing the on-balance volume indicator. So let's say on this day here, 5,000 shares were traded. On the next day, 7,000 shares were traded, and it's got a plus. It gets a plus value because the price has closed higher. So our on-balance volume indicator goes up. The next day here, let's pretend 10,000 shares were traded, and the price closes higher again. So our on-balance volume indicator goes up again. Okay, so at the moment you see it's going in the direction of the trend because the price is closing up, and it's assigning a plus value to the volume here, and that's getting plotted on our on-balance volume indicator down here. Let's look at what happens if the price drops. So we have the next day here. The price has moved lower. Volume, in this example, I've drawn volume as dropping off. It's not really important, this bit, because the price has dropped lower, has closed lower, then now, for the on-balance volume calculation, the amount of volume on this day here, gets assigned a negative value. So our on-balance volume would drop off a little bit and look like that. Let's have a look at a couple more days. So I've drawn a couple more days into the future. So we have the next day here, the price has closed lower again. It's closed lower than the previous day. Volume is whatever it is, but here, of course, volume, because the price has closed lower, for the on-balance volume indicator, it will be assigned a negative value. Then here, the price has moved up. Let's put our volume in there. So the on-balance volume indicator will be assigned a positive value. Let's just draw that in and take it step by step. So we had this day here where volume dropped off. The price closes lower the next day. So again, this volume is assigned a negative value. So the on-balance volume indicator moves a bit lower. The next day, the price closes higher, so now this volume gets assigned a positive value, so on-balance volume picks up again. So what people will look at is the trend in on-balance volume. You know, when the market's going up, the volume is getting assigned a positive value, so on-balance volume will be trending higher. So they'll look at trends within the on-balance volume. But hopefully this will make even more sense when we look at it in the real world. So there we go, another wonderful work of art for me there, explaining the theory of unbalanced volume. So just to recap, it's really straightforward. If the price has changed higher, then the volume for that day gets a positive value. So if it's 10,000 shares traded, it's plus 10,000. That gets plotted in unbalanced volume. If the price closes lower compared to the previous day's close, volume on that day gets a negative value. So we see unbalanced volume move lower as an oscillator. But let's take a look at it in the real world with a couple of examples. So let's take a look on Facebook. We've got the daily chart here of the Facebook share price going back to June 2016. We've got nothing on the chart, just to show you how to add in these various things. So first of all, chart settings, and down here is volume. So let's pick up on that. So we have our volume bars at the bottom here. And then for the indicator, for unbalanced volume, again, the easiest way, you can access it from the indicators button up here, or just right click on the chart, go to indicators, volume is the one we want, and unbalanced volume. So let's just pick up on that, click on confirm, those settings are fine, and here we go. So just to show first of all, again, just to go over how it's calculated. So the volume bars are here. Clearly we've seen Facebook hit quite heavily over the last week or so. It's due to this whole, the scandal, apparent scandal involving Cambridge Analytica and what was going on with the data, all of this sort of stuff. So we've seen the Facebook share price hit quite hard. And we've seen that on big volume. So here, when the price is declining, the volume gets assigned a negative value. So down here on the unbalanced volume indicator, clearly that's falling. But look over the last day. Yesterday, Facebook did manage to close just slightly higher. So the day before yesterday, it closed at 159.31. Yesterday, we did see the price sell off, but it did close at 159.92. So we actually had a higher close. So the volume for the previous day gets assigned a positive value for the unbalanced volume indicator, which is why we've seen unbalanced volume tick up here. Okay, so that's just really confirming the construction of the indicator. Let's just look now at some of the signals. So people using unbalanced volume, some of them will look at trends in unbalanced volume and look for those changing. So let's pick up on an old trend from back here in the unbalanced volume. So back here, we're going back to the end of 2016, where unbalanced volume was clearly trending downwards, then breaks out of the trend there. And of course, what's caused it to break out of the trend is the price picking up. As the price is picking up and going positive, closing higher on most days than the previous day, then the volume is assigned a positive value for the unbalanced volume indicator. So we see price pick up. So breakouts or reversals of old trends can be one way where people will look for confirmation that maybe the price is changing. Then we also have this idea of divergence. We've looked at this before when it comes to things like RSIs, where the market does one thing, but our indicator does something else. And it is hindsight here, but look what happened here. We have October 2017, the price of Facebook hits a high of about 182 a share. Unbalanced volume is trading pretty high as well because we've had a good run of positive price changes. But then the market pushes a bit higher here, what's this, about 2 or 3 months later. But look at what unbalanced volume is doing. Let me just pick that up on the trend. Here we go. So it looks like that. Unbalanced volume has been falling even though the price has pushed higher. So this, some people might use that as a reason to not to buy into the breakout, okay? Because we have this, what's known as bearish divergence. The price has moved higher, but we're not seeing the same follow through on unbalanced volume. Look at what we were getting back here. When the price was moving higher, unbalanced volume was moving higher as well. So this is quite a change, okay? So that's maybe a warning that the break isn't a valid one. And the latest thing that some will be looking at on Facebook is, of course, the current trend. So on balanced volume at the moment, because the price has been falling quite heavily over the last month or so, the trend for unbalanced volume is down, so they may well be waiting for a break through here to start thinking about buying back in again. And just one final chart. I thought this might be interesting to look at. This is the Dow Jones, the US stock market index. So down here, we've got our on-balance volume trend going back. I've picked up on it going back to the US election, the presidential election, November 2016. Of course, since then, right up to the end of January this year, we had a market that just continued to gain ground. Sell-offs were very rare, so lots of the volume, understandably, in the on-balance volume, was getting assigned a positive value. So we had this great trend from November 2016 all the way through to actually just recently. This is the first break in that trend we've seen during March. Okay, so we've seen a break in the on-balance volume trend. So at the moment, on-balance volume for the Dow, that's definitely in a downtrend. You know, when we'd need to see some more positive closes here to assign a positive value to the on-balance volume and see it maybe break out of this trend. But I thought it was interesting. It's the first time we've seen a break in the trend line back here, even after that sell-off. Did a pretty good job of holding the on-balance volume trend up until the last week or so. So there we go. I think it's pretty straightforward. You know, it arguably makes it easier to see what's going on with volume using the on-balance volume indicator rather than looking at the volume bars. I think, as I said last time around, volume is something I've never got into the habit of looking at, because when I started looking at markets back in the mid-90s, at FX markets, there was no official volume. But I think the on-balance volume indicator is a good way of tracking what's going on with that underlying trend in volume and maybe giving you an early warning that things are changing. We'll start wrapping it up there. As usual, if you have any questions or comments, leave us a message in those comments down below. We do read all of them. If you like the video, click on the thumbs up. And to never miss out on the stuff we produce during the week, we look at markets such as euro, gold, oil, cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, trading strategies like this. There's a whole host of stuff that we do during the week. So if you're not subscribed, click on the subscribe button there. And to make sure you get notified every time we upload a video during the week, just make sure you've clicked that alarm bell notification thing down there and you'll get automatically notified. But we'll wrap it up there. So from me, David Jones and Trading 212, I hope you have a good trading week.